All right, let's dive into something that every single one of us who writes code thinks about: clean code. Now, we've all been told we should write it, but what does that actually mean? It's really about this big shift, moving past just getting the computer to understand our code and instead writing code that other humans can understand. You know, we've all been in that situation. You're staring at your screen, trying to figure out a piece of code that honestly looks more like a plate of spaghetti than a clear set of instructions. It's this universal developer experience, right? And it's such a huge drain on our time and our mental energy. I mean, seriously, have you ever opened up a project you wrote, say, 6 months ago, and you spend the first 20 minutes just going, what on earth was I thinking here? It's such a frustrating feeling, and it's a massive signal that something has to change. And that right there is the problem that clean code sets out to solve. This is probably the most important mindset shift you can make. We have to stop thinking about code as just a list of commands for a machine. It's not. It's a conversation. It's a message that you are leaving for the next person who's going to read it. And let's be honest, a lot of the time, that next person is you, just a few months down the line. So, if our code really is a conversation, how do we make sure it's a good one? A clear one? Well, that brings us to the big question. What even is clean code? And here it is. It's really not about some clever one-liner or a super complicated algorithm. Clean code is actually pretty simple. It's readable, it's understandable, and it's maintainable. And you'll notice the key word here is human. Look, any code that works is, by definition, understood by the computer. The real challenge, the thing that marks a true professional, is writing code that humans can understand without breaking a sweat. And this quote just captures the goal perfectly. Robert C. Martin, or Uncle Bob, as so many of us know him, he really gave us this powerful way of thinking about it. Good prose just flows, right? It communicates an idea clearly, elegantly. And that's exactly what our code should be aiming for. It's not magic. It's just about being clear. Okay, so we get what it is. We get why it's so important. But how do we actually do it? How do we get there? Well, it all breaks down into a few really fundamental principles. For today, we're going to focus on 3 of the absolute biggest game changers. First up, use meaningful names. This is your #1 chance to be clear. Instead of a variable named d, why not call it elapsed time in days? Suddenly, the intent is totally obvious without needing a single comment. Second, keep your functions small. Each function should do one thing and one thing only, and do it really well. And finally, don't repeat yourself, the classic dry principle. If you find yourself writing the same bit of logic in 3 different places, that's your cue to pull it out into one reusable function. This is such a great way to think about that second rule. I mean, you wouldn't use some giant, clunky multi-tool when a simple screwdriver is what you need, right? It's the exact same idea with your code. A small function that has a single, clear responsibility is just so much easier to understand, to test, and to use again later. It becomes a precise little tool in your software toolkit. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking right now. This all sounds nice, but it takes extra time, and hey, my program already works. And you know what? That's a fair point. But it's missing the bigger picture, because messy code always, and I mean always, comes back to bite you. Let's talk about why spending this time up front pays off like you wouldn't believe. Oh, this analogy is just perfect. Imagine trying to cook a big meal in a messy kitchen. You spend half your time just looking for the right spice or trying to find a clean pan. Yeah, you can still make dinner, but the whole process is stressful and super inefficient. Messy code is exactly the same. It creates this constant friction that just slows you and your whole team way down. And when you put the two side by side, the difference in the outcome is just stark. On one side, messy code means tons of wasted time hunting for bugs that are hiding in all that complexity. It leads to frustration, it makes working with others a total nightmare. But on the other side, with clean code, you spend less time debugging and way more time building cool new features. Clarity actually prevents mistakes, which means fewer bugs. And when everyone can understand the code, teamwork just clicks. So the most important thing to get is that writing clean code isn't just some academic exercise. It's a professional practice with huge real-world benefits. And the best part is that it's a skill you can build. It's a habit. So let's wrap up with a few practical ways you can start getting better at this, like right now. Look, this isn't about some massive overnight rewrite of everything you've ever done. It's about small, consistent improvements. Get in the habit of refactoring just one tiny piece of code every single day. Go on GitHub and read code from open source projects you really admire. And writing tests, that is a fantastic way to force yourself to think clearly about what your code actually needs to do. But most of all, just be intentional. Every single line you write should have a clear and obvious purpose. So as we finish up, I really want to leave you with this one question. Writing clean code is all about changing your mindset. It's about communication, it's about clarity, and honestly, it's about showing respect for your teammates and for your future self. There's a great quote from Martin Fowler. Any fool can write code that a computer can understand. Good programmers write code that humans can understand. So the next time you open your editor, just ask yourself this: who am I really writing this for?